Hello, hello, hello! Greetings, salutations, konnichiwa, and every other form of green across this vast, marvelous multiverse. I am Matsu Quinox. This is Horace, and welcome back, my dear, marvelous, wonderful scholars, to the study. Hello there, hello there, hello there. Hello there, Julian20. Hello there, Private Maverick. Welcome. Hello, 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 all you marvelous, wonderful scholars out there, wherever you are, whenever you are across this vast, wonderful omniverse. How are you all doing, my dear scholars? I hope you're doing well. Forgot this. Uh, Julian20. Oh, so wonderful it is above all words. Private Maverick doing good tonight. Oh, good, good, good. Julian 20. Oh my goodness, a 95 stream streak. Wow, that is impressive. As for myself and Horace, you know what? I'm not gonna lie. Today has been a very bad day for me. Oh my goodness gracious. Everything that could go wrong went wrong, my dear scholars, and I'm still not recovered from it. Oh my goodness gracious. It is beyond. I am it is really hard to stream tonight, honestly. It's taking a lot of my energy and emotional energy to keep me going. But I promise, my dear scholars, a stream, and I will deliver, my dear scholars, a stream, no matter what. Julian20, you need hugs. Aw, thank you. But yeah, it was not a good day. Horace was there for me, but even Horace, has the limits on how well he can keep me going. Oh, it was just really rough. Oh, congratulations on getting first, Julian20. But yes, I'm not going to go into any details. It was just a really really bad day, and I am hoping that the rest of my time is not going to be as bad. But oh, I have, I worry. I really worry. Private Maverick, I guess Horace can only do so much. Yeah, Horace can only do so much for us. Oh. Anyway, after that depressing little side sidebar, um, as I always say, I digress. Tonight, my dear scholars, we are continuing our read through of Dr. Sin. Julian20, we are here for you. Aw, thank you, Julian20. So where was we? Where were we in the book? Oh yes. So far in the little sleepy village of Dimchurch, the king's men have arrived on suspicion that there is smuggling. Um, Little Jerk, yes, that's the name of this kid. Little Jerk accidentally witnesses the schoolmaster murder the local doctor, and he goes to the what's his what is he Parson, the vicar, about it. The one named Doctor Sin, who then tells um I'm sorry, my brain is not here. Who then tells Jerk to keep it quiet, but Jerk has just been called into the courtroom in the inquest on the murder. Oh dear, things are getting rather hot. Um, like I said last time, there's not much plot so far. It's very atmospheric though, and some real intense parts and some good characters. So then, my dear scholars, shall we continue our read through of Dr. Sin and see what mysterious occurrences are happening on Romney Marsh? Oh, yes, we saw the marsh demons too, which were rather creepy. What say you, my dear scholars? Julian 20, I say many things. Oh, you do. I see, I see. We might as well continue then. So, my dear scholars, sit back, relax, have a hot or cold beverage of your liking, dim the lights if you wish, and let us continue our reading of Dr. Sin by Russell Thorndike. Don't fall asleep on me, Julian 20. No. Well, you're allowed to fall asleep. All of you are. Let me get another drink of water. Usually for the coughs, allergy seasons here in the study are very high. Chapter 12. The Captain Objects. Up the old stairway to the courtroom, Jerk followed the captain, wondering why he had been called, what the captain knew about last night, and whatever Dr. Sin would advise him to say if he were questioned. There were nutty problems for Jerry's young teeth to crack. That's an interesting little simile. But although somewhat nervous of his difficult position, he was on the whole highly delighted at seeing the fun. The procedure of the inquiry was evidently biding the captain's presence, for as soon as he had taken his seat at the high table, the squire rose and in a few words announced the inquiry to be set and open. The captain seemed to have forgotten the presence of Jerk, who was left standing in the doorway surveying the august company. There were an attorney at law and a doctor of medicine from Hylas, an attorney from Romney, and a doctor from Romney. At the high table these four gentlemen sat facing the squire, who was in the center, with Dr. Sin upon his right. On his left was the chair just occupied by the captain, and on fixed oak benches round the room sat the leading lights of Dymchurch. The head preventative officer, 3 or 4 well-to-do farmers, 2 owners of fishing luggers, Dennis Cobtree, Mrs. Waggetts, and the schoolmaster, beside 2 or 3 leading villagers. Nobody took much notice of Jerk when he came in, for all eyes were on the captain. But Dr. Sin not only took notice, but the trouble to point out an empty space on one of the benches. Excuse me. Are all those summoned for this inquiry present? Asked the captain, looking round at the assemblage. All but Mr. Mipps, said the squire, referring to a list of names before him. While we were waiting for you, he took the opportunity of viewing the body next door. The captain signed to one of the 2 sailors who were guarding the door of the adjoining room, and he accordingly summoned the undertaker, who with an eye to business was measuring the corpse. Jerk caught a glimpse of this as the door opened, and of the form of Sennacherib Pepper lying on a table. The undertaker, with a foot rule in his hands, took his place on one of the benches. Mip's entrance seemed to revive the tragedy of the whole business, for there was a pause after the squire's words. But the captain was the first to speak. He arose, and to the astonishment of everybody, took up and lit a pipe, which had been lying upon the table in front of him. Sir Anthony Cobtree and gentlemen, he said in his great husky sea voice, as he drew the smoke deliberately through the long clay stem, and volleyed it back from his set mouth in blue battle clouds across the table. We have met here to discuss, as Sir Anthony Cobtree has already said better than I ever could, the sad and sudden death of Dr. Sennacherib Pepper, killed violently last night on Romeny Marsh. The form of this inquiry I leave to the lawyers, whose business it is. But before they get busy, I've got a few things bottled up that I must and will say. I don't possess the knack of a crafty tongue myself, and I've the reputation among my colleagues of being the most tactless man in the service. But I've also a reputation as a fighter, and when I do fight, it's a hard fight. A straightforward, open fight. So what I've got to say will, like enough, cause offence to every man in this room, from Sir Anthony Cobtree downwards. I'm no good at strategy. As I say, I fight open. And when I think things, well, I can't bottle them up. I say 'em out bluntly as the risk of offence. So here it is. I don't like this business. This Dr. Pepper business. Well, have you tried Diet Dr. Pepper? I've heard it's just as tasty. The captain here paused to roll a large volume of smoke across the room. The squire took advantage of the pause and said, "If that's all, Captain, come now. Which of us do?" The captain thought a moment and added, "If the party or parties who committed the crime didn't like it, why in thunder's name did they do it?" "You should know that better than we do," returned the squire hotly, "for that the murderer was under your employment is fairly obvious." "You are referring to the seaman," said the captain. "In the first place, I consider that you should have asked my permission before you issued that public notice affixed to the church door. Until he is found and can be examined, I deny your right, or any man's right, to brand him as a murderer." I don't know. I mean, the captain's being fair in this regards, but I'm not saying it out here. He is really kind of harsh about who this guy is. "You remarked just now, sir," cried the squire, "that you preferred to leave the business of lawyers to the lawyers. Please do so, and remember that whilst I am head of this jurisdiction on Romney Marsh, I will brook no dictation from Admiralty men. No, sir, not from the First Lord downwards." "Come, come, gentlemen," said Dr. Syn, drumming his fingers on the table. "I think that this is an ill-fitting time and place for wrangling. The captain has got a bee in his bonnet somehow, and the sooner we get it out for him the better. Let us please hear, sir, what he has to say." The squire nodded his head roughly and sat silent, while the rest of the company waited for the captain to continue, which he presently did, still pulling vigorously at his long clay pipe. "The next thing I don't like," he went on, "is Dymchurch itself. I don't like the marsh behind it, and I don't like the flat open coastline. It looks a deal too innocent for me on the surface, and not being a strategist, I don't like it." The squire was on edge with irritation. "I am sure, sir," he said sarcastically, "that had the Almighty been notified of your objection during the process of the creation, he would have extended Dover cliffs around Dungeness. Get a drink of water. 1 second. The captain didn't seem to notice the interruption. "Next, I don't like the people here. Leaving Dr. Syn out of it, for he's a parson, and I never could make head or tail of parsons. I say that from the squire down, you're none of you swimming the surface. Sir Anthony Cobtree went to great pains to entertain me lavishly yesterday, in order that he might politely imprison me last night. I enjoy good entertainment, and the conversation of clever men, but not at the price of a locked door." "I don't know what you are talking about," said the squire, livid with rage. "Don't you, sir?" retorted the captain. "Well, I do, as I had to risk breaking my neck when I climbed down the ivy from your top window." "You had only to tell me of your eccentric habits," said the squire, "and I would have set a ladder against your window in case the door stuck." "The door was locked, and well you know it, sir," cried the captain, suddenly turning on the squire. "For half an hour after I had climbed back through the window, to be exact, at 4:30, I heard stealthy feet coming along the passage and unlock it, by which I know that for a period of the night you wanted to make sure of me inside my room. When in on in- yeah, when on inquiring from your servants, I discovered that I am the first guest who has ever slept in that particular room, and that the furniture was put into it for the occasion from one of the spare rooms. I begin to see your wisdom, for that room contained no view of the high road, no view of the marsh or sea.
God, sir, you are the first man who has dared to question my hospitality. Perhaps you expected me to give up my room for your accommodations.
Oh my goodness. Long paragraphs, my dear scholars. Nothing of the kind, answered the captain, but I expected to be dealt with straight. And this brings me to the end of my complaints, and let me tell you this. I saw Luff last night on the marsh to keep Jack Ketch busy for an hour or so, gentlemen. I'm warning you. You'll not be the first I've sent from the coast to the sessions, nor will you be the last. I warn you, one and all, that I'm going to strike soon. I'm not afraid of your tales of marsh devils and demon riders. I'll rot them out, and see how they look by daylight. I've men behind me that I can trust, and they're pretty handy fighters. If your demon riders are not of this world, then they'll do our good steel no harm. But if they are just men playing hanky-panky tricks to no harm. No, I read that wrong. Playing hanky-panky tricks to frighten fools from the marsh. Hanky-panky tricks? Really? Well, all I've got to say to them is, if they relish British cutlass in their bowels, we'll let them continue with such pranks as they played upon poor Pepper. And they'll get Pepper back and be damned to them, for it's Jack Ketch or the cold steel and nothing else. Having thus hurled his challenge at the assembly, the captain put his pipe upon the table, and sat down. Excuse me. You can imagine that a speech of so staggering a nature had a strange effect upon the company. So sudden was it, so ferocious, so uncalled for, that nearly a minute elapsed before anyone moved. At last the squire rose, speaking quietly, but in that clear voice that everybody in Dymchurch knew so well and respected.
Gentlemen, Dr. Syn spoke very wisely, as it is ever his wont to do, when he rebuked us for wrangling. For, as he said, both time and place are ill-fitting. This is the first time that I have been insulted during my long sojourn in Romney Marsh, and I am glad that it has been in the presence of my friends and tenants of Dymchurch, who know me well and will do me right in their own minds, never allowing themselves to be warped for an instant by the unjust remarks of a stranger, upon whom I have, to the best of my ability, bestowed hospitality and every mark of friendship. On the other hand, I must honestly affirm that Captain Howard Collier insulted me in a straightforward manner. In his defence, I must say that the Admiralty has chosen a bad man to do their spying for them. For when I say bad, I mean, of course, the wrong man. I know the captain to be a brave and good sailor. The splendid drubbing that he gave to the French man-of-war Golden Lion in the mouth of the St. Lawrence River shows exactly the sort of character he carries. And if the Admiralty had left him in command of the Resistance, we should have been at war with the odious French long ago. I now give the Admiralty credit for being weather-wise seamen and diplomatists, and think them shrewd in depriving him of a command. Having now, as it were, given the devil his due, I say to him in the presence of you all that his words here this morning have been altogether preposterous. It is not in accordance with either my private or public dignity that I should answer the hinted accusation of this captain. As I said before, I am judge here, and whilst I hold the most honourable position of leveller of Marsh Scots, I decline to entertain any im- imputations. For should I ever consider myself to be in the position of being reasonably accused of any crime, I should, for the honour of my office and the welfare of Romney Marsh, promptly resign. Thus, this I have no intention of doing, for it is clearly now my bounden duty to see my poor friend Sennacherib Pepper righted and avenged, and for that duty I sweep aside Captain Collier's statements as impertinent. You gentlemen in this courthouse are all good Marshmen, and one and all know me as well as I know myself. When you consider me unfit to be your judge, I will retire, but not till then. A storm of applause greeted the squire as he sat down, but it was checked by Dr. Syn, who again reminded the assemblage of the events that had brought them to the courthouse, and begged them, out of respect for the dead gentleman in the next room, to abstain from further acclamation. Well, he does, you know, I have to kind of agree with the judge. I think this captain was a mistake. Although I do suspect, as the squire suspects, is that maybe he was put on this case simply to keep him out of the way. Sort of, what's the word? What is the word? He was promoted essentially to keep him out of trouble. Which I suspect seems to be the case with our dear, dear captain. So then let's continue and see where this inquiry goes. Although it is interesting that Jerk has kind of disappeared at this part. Mm. Oh, this next part's kind of back and forth. Again, this book has some very strange formatting for the paragraphs. I'm not sure why. Chapter 13. The End of the Inquiry. Oh, that was, I thought I heard someone shouting or screaming. I think it's just Virgil watching that infernal device known as television in the other room. I've told Virgil to try and read books more often, but no, he doesn't. He does not listen. You need to tell me, why are you apologizing? You have nothing to do with it. Are you apologizing for Virgil or something? Oh my goodness, Helium 20, do not apologize for Virgil. Virgil is fully capable of apologizing for himself, which usually turns into a prank of some sort. He's that kind of person. The lawyers now asserted themselves, and for some 3 hours questioned and cross-questioned everybody. The squire left things in their hands, seeming to take small interest in the proceedings, whilst the captain, with his chin resting on his great hand, obviously took none at all. Dr. Syn, however, was at great pains to follow through the whole business, making notes of anything he deemed important upon a scrap of paper. But with all their cleverness, the lawyers were greatly at sea, for they only ended up where they began, namely, that Sennacherib Pepper was dead, and by violent means; that a foreign sailor was missing,
and that this same sailor had stolen at a short period before the murder a certain harpoon from the house of Dr. Sin, and that from the nature and size of the wound upon the body, sudden death was most certainly caused by this same weapon. To this false, though obvious conclusion, Dr. Sin, to Jerk's intense surprise, unhesitatingly agreed. Jerk couldn't understand this at all. Why had he been called to the trial if the vicar had not believed his story? For he found on being summoned to the witness box that all he was required to state was whether or not he had seen the man enter the vicarage on the previous night, and leave it a few minutes later with the harpoon in question in his hand. Having sworn to this, he was on the point of taking matters into his own hands and exposing the schoolmaster, when he was peremptorily ordered to stand down. Returning to his place, he plainly noted the relief on the face of the schoolmaster. A warmer time of it had Mr. Mipps. There was something about Mipps that would always be called in question. If a great crime had been committed within a 50-mile radius of Mipps, he would most assuredly have been detained upon suspicion. His quizzical appearance of injured innocence was quite enough to label him a likely culprit. On this occasion, he acted upon the attorneys like a red rag to a bull. "If I'm to be kept standing through this examination," he remarked on his way to the witness box, "I must beg of you to be more brisk and businesslike than you have shown yourself already. Perhaps in your profession you are paid for wasting your time, but in mine you ain't, so please remember it. As our worthy vicar knows, I has a lot of work to get through, so the sooner you get on with this here dismal business, the better temper you'll keep me in. See?" "You'll keep your mouth shut, my man, till you're questioned," sang out one of the attorneys sharply. "I'll keep my mouth shut for nobody but Squire and Dr. Sin," retorted the sexton. "And in your future remarks, don't my man me. Please, I ain't your man, and it's mighty pleased I ain't." That is a weird sentence right there. When ordered to give an account of what had happened on the previous night, he abstainedly refused to open his mouth until they had removed to the other side of the room the two sailors who were guarding the witness box. "For," said he, "I can't abide the look or smell of 'em. They fair turns me up." This caused much laughter among the villagers, and indeed the little sexton was so ready with his scathing remarks at the expense of the lawyers that in order to preserve their dignity they were obliged to give him up. "Have I now your permission to go back to my measuring?" said Mipps, producing his foot rule, "or will any more advice from me be required?" The lawyers tartly observed that he had been little or no use, and turned to the next witness. Let me drink water. After the schoolmaster had been called upon to bear out certain points of evidence, the 3 hours' useless palaver came to a conclusion. The attorneys agreeing with Dr. Sin that Sennacherib Pepper had been murdered by the sailor, and that as soon as he was taken, he would get swift trial and short shrift. Meanwhile, anyone found sheltering and feeding or in any way abetting the said sailor would be prosecuted. As it was now approaching dinner time, further matters were left over until such time as the sailor should be caught. This, Dr. Sin vehemently urged, was of great import to the marsh folk, for so long as that maniac starved upon the marsh with a good weapon in his hand, they were open to the same fate as that which had befallen the inoffensive Pepper. It's interesting that Dr. Sin is pushing this. I mean, he did listen to Jerk, and he did tell Jerk, keep your mouth shut for now until the inquest. But now he's being very, very pushy about this sailor conspiracy. The captain rose first, left the courthouse, and set off for the ship inn without a word to the squire. The latter, accompanied by the attorneys and medical men, repairing to the dining hall below. Dr. Sin, however, went from group to group, impressing the necessity for posses of men to scour the marsh for the missing seamen. This gave Mr. Rash an opportunity of approaching Jerk, who, being due to dine at the vicarage, was awaiting the parson's pleasure. "Well, and what do you think of courthouse inquiries, Mr. Jerk?" he said affably. "Impressive, ain't they?" "Not to me," replied Cherry. "I don't think nothing at all of 'em. After all the messing of them lawyers, I shouldn't be surprised if they hadn't got a hold of the wrong end of the stick, should you?" "What do you mean, the wrong end?" "What I say. The wrong end ain't the right one, I believe." "Then you don't think the sailor committed the murder?" "From what that there sea captain said, I should say you ain't got no right to put thoughts into my head any more than words into my mouth." "Come, Jack," said the schoolmaster suavely. "No offense." "Never said there was," replied Cherry. "Then come and have a now, then come and have a bite with me at my house, as there's no school today. I should be honored, indeed I should." And the schoolmaster beamed upon him. "Would you though, I wonders?" mused the boy. "Sorry to disappoint you," he added airily, "but I'm a dining at the vicarage." "Oh, with the vicar?" "No, with the Shah of Persia." Then in a tone of supreme condescension, he added, "I believe vicars live in vicarages." "Ah, so, so, so. Quite right," returned the schoolmaster. "Dr. Syn, then, has asked you to dinner?" "Well, I don't see anything so very remarkable in that, do you?" "Oh, not at all. All very right. Proper and pleasant." "Well, it's right enough, you can lay to that, 'cause I tells you it is. And as to its being proper, well, I don't see how it's improper, so I suppose it is. And as to its being pleasant, well, I'll tell you when I knows what to eat there. And if you'll excuse me, I'll be off now, 'cause I believe Dr. Syn is waiting for me." Indeed, at that moment, Dr. Syn approached, and putting his hand affectionately on Jerk's shoulder, with a friendly nod to the schoolmaster, he led the boy from the room of inquiry, out of the courthouse, and so to the vicarage, where a cold dinner was already prepared. I need another drink of water. I don't know. The schoolmaster, Rash, the one who actually did the murder, seems a little too at ease with all this, doesn't he? Also, it's kind of funny that Mips basically threw everything back in the lawyer's face to get out of that. There is something going on, isn't there, my dear scholars, in this village? Something very odd. And we know that it wasn't, of course, the sailor who was behind all that, but it is interesting how they're all banding together with this theory. Very much as if they're all hiding something. I wonder what that could be. I hope you're enjoying the book so far, my dear scholars. It is a very different book from what we've read before. It's I want to say slower, but more, as I think I said before, more moody. There's a slow build-up. Hopefully, it can maintain it. We've seen in the past what's happened with books where we thought it was going to start off really well and then slowly lost their steam. I'm looking at you, Adventures of Robin Hood. You started off so well, and then you just ended up getting really, really. Then you ended up repeating until the last chapter, which was so, so good. Why did you waste all that energy on the last chapter? Thank you for the posture check, Julian20. I'm still kind of sore about that. Oh, they did this monumental, emotional, wondrous bit at the in the final chapters, The Adventures of Robin Hood. It was so good, and then they wasted it all. Okay, let's continue. Chapter 14. At the Vicarage. Now, although it was comparatively early in the afternoon, Dr. Syn did rather a curious thing. Or so it seemed to Jerry. He had the wooden shutters of the dining room fastened, and they dined by the light of candles. That's a troubling thing to know. This had quite an uncanny effect, to dine by candles in broad daylight, but Jerk thought perhaps that this was always done when gentry entertained company. Dr. Syn was gloomy through the meal, and although he kept pressing Jerry to take more and to help himself, he made no effort at keeping up conversation. In fact, had not the food been good and plenteous, Jerry very much doubted whether he would have enjoyed himself at all, for Dr. Syn's manner was peculiar. He seemed strained and excited, and not once or twice, but many times during the repast he would get up and stride about the room. And once he broke out into the old sea song that Jerry had so often heard at the ship's inn. 1 second, my dear scholars, I have to figure out this song. Okay, here we go. I haven't sung in these books a lot lately, so this is a treat. Here's to the feet what have walked the plank. Yo ho for the dead man's throttle, and here's to the corpses afloat in the tank, and the dead man's teeth in the bottle. Now, to make conversation, Jerry was bold enough to interrupt this song by inquiring what exactly was meant by the dead man's throttle. Dr. Syn stopped in his walk and looked at him. Filling 2 tots of rum, one of which he handed to Jerk, he tossed off the other himself and said, "Ah, you may well ask that, sonny. I don't know exactly myself, but I suppose if poor Peter was to come in here now and throttle us, man and boy, him being stone dead, as we both well know, well, we should be having the dead man's throttle served on us." "Oh, I see," replied Jerk with interest. "Then I take it that the rest of the song has some sort of meaning too. What's the tank that the corpses float round in, sir?" "The sea," replied the doctor. "The sea, that's the great tank, my lad. And that there are corpses enough floating round in it, I don't think you and I could doubt." "That's plain true," said Jerk, "but I don't see no sense about the dead man's teeth in the bottle." "That's plain too," cried the doctor, taking a stiff swig from the black bottle itself. "It was in England's day that I wrote that. He cut a man's head off with a cutlass because the rascal was drinking his best rum on the sly, and the shocker as he died made the brute bite through the glass neck of the bottle." Oh, oh, my dear scholars, did you hear that sentence? Oh, Oh, oh dear.
Did you see it, sir?
Asked Jerk, carried away by the tail.
Who said I saw it?
Demanded the parson sharply.
Well, you said you wrote the song, sir, and at the time it happened.
Nothing of the kind. I said nothing of the kind. The son's an old one, an ancient thing. God knows what rascal invented it, but you can depend upon it a rascal he was. I don't know why I should hum it. I don't know what it means. Can't make head or tail of the jargon.
You explains it very sensible, I thinks,
Replied Jerry. I don't. I don't. I give you my word it's Greek to me.
But Greek's easy to parsons, ain't it?
Yes, yes, well. Chinese, Fiji, what you will, what you will. Have some rum. The doctor's manner was really very strange indeed. Add to this the shuttered room, the candlelight, and the strong spirit in his head, and it was small wonder that Jerry felt none too comfortable, especially as, at the conclusion of the meal, the door opened, and Mr. Rash entered the room. Well, my lad, said the vicar, now you know where I feed. Drop in again. Parochial matters to attend to with the schoolmaster. Must choose the hymns, you know, for Sunday, or the choir will have nothing to sing. And with that he led the boy out into the hall. He then dropped his voice to a whisper. You were wrong about the schoolmaster last night, sonny. I'll explain. I'll explain things to you some day. Meanwhile, here's a crown piece. You're a smart lad, ain't you? Well, keep a weather eye open for that sailor rascal. There's more in this ugly business than we imagine. I'll tell you all about it when I know more myself. But you made a mistake last night, and I begin to see how you made it. But I can't tell you just yet, because I'm not quite sure of my ground. It's dangerous ground we're treading, Jetty, you and I. Now here's another crown. That one for keeping your eye open. Do you know what the other's for?
What?
Keeping your mouth shut. Don't you remember anything about last night till I tell you? You wouldn't understand if I were to explain. You're very young, you know, Jerry lad, but smart's the word that describes you. You're smart and bright as the button on that sea captain's coat, as bright as 1,000 new guinea bits you served from the mint. That's what you are, and no mistake.
I hope so,
Replied Jerk, stepping out.
I thinks I am.
God bless you, said the doctor, shutting the door, and returning to Rash, who was waiting in the shuttered room by the light of the guttering candles. Oh, did you catch that, my dear scholars? Did you catch that? What just accidentally slipped in between the conversation? Oh, our dear parson, our dear vicar. There's a little bit more to him than meets the eye, isn't there? This is getting interesting. Secrets all around. And I had the feeling that when he led Jerk into the room like that, he had something going on. Although it's interesting that Jerk seems all too ready to just follow through with what Sin tells him to do. I mean, I suppose 2 crowns, which is a lot of money back then, would keep anyone's mouth shut, but it does seem interesting that he really just kind of jumps at it rather than tell anyone else. It's interesting because he was so interested in taking Rash down, and now, as far as we can tell, he's lost that interest. Excuse me again. Oh my goodness gracious. Okay. So then let's continue. We again these chapters are short, so we are going through this very fast. Chapter 15. A landed proprietor sets up a gallows tree. Back to the ship and to duty went Hangman Jerk, with much to think over in his bullet head, and much to digest in his tight little stomach. That is true, they did give him a lot of rum. That probably helped in confusing Jerk a little bit more. To make head or tail of the doctor's remarkable manner was beyond him, so he dismissed it from his mind and instead fell to contemplating the 2 silver crowns. One, payment for keeping his weather eye open, easily earned. The other, the schoolmaster's safety, directly against his highest hopes. Yes, a crown was poor payment for that, especially as it was now possible for him to be the direct means of hanging his enemy. Oh, so it didn't work. Approaching the bar door, he paused, for he heard voices within. Voices that he knew released him from work. The voices of Mrs. Waggetts and the pride of her life, the sexton, Mipps. Oh, this is a longer one. Jerk knew exactly how the land lay with Mrs. Waggetts, and he was always wondering when and if ever she would succeed in folding that queer little man within the safe bonds of matrimony. Now, whatever Jerk's failings may have been, he was loyal to his friends, and Mrs. Waggetts was not only his friend, but his employer, and had done him many good turns. For one thing, she had given him a money box in which to save a portion of his weekly wage. That doesn't sound a great deal on the surface, it is true, but her kindness had not ended there, as you shall see. Jerk's teeth were not sweet, like those of most boys of his age. Excuse me, I'm just adjusting myself a little bit. Ugh. He never bought sweetmeats, barley sugar, and such child's trash. No, when he wanted to pick me up, it was a grown man's pick me up that he liked. A pannikin of rum, a whiff of tobacco, and a lawn shot at the china spittoon that stood in front of the bar. A naughty child, very naughty. These indulgences had no effect on his purse, for the cravings of the first two were easily satisfied from the bar store when nobody was looking, and the third he was at liberty to practice whenever he felt so disposed. And thus it was that, although but approaching 13 years of age, he had, through the good offices of the landlady and a systematic use of her money box, already become a landed proprietor. When the landlady heard that Jerk wanted to spend his savings on such a very strange thing as land, she had exclaimed in some surprise, "Lord bless the boy! Land? What can a boy of that age want with a plot of land?" "The money's good enough, ain't it, ma'am? Very well, then, I want land. A nice little bit of snug mud bank, where I can hide and learn about the marsh. If I have a bit of mud what's all mine in Romeny Marsh, well, I'll be a marshman, and it's a marshman's proper I want to be." So Mrs. Waggetts consented, and bought a plot for him, situated about a mile and a half from the village, and a rough half-mile from the sea. As land, it was of no use in the commercial sense. In fact, the farmer had thought the landlady clean crazy to buy it, though the price was small enough as far as prices go on the marsh. It was more mud than land, surrounded by 2 broad dikes that slowly oozed round to meet in a sluice channel. This was Jerk's estate, measuring 12 yards by 10 all told, and only solid in one spot near the center, a patch of about 10 square feet, which formed a knobbly mound surrounded by great bulrushes. But the mound was not such a small affair, for it rose high enough to top the loftiest rush, and that is quite a noticeable height on the flat of Romney Marsh. This mound was given by its owner the dignified name of Lookout Mountain, a name well deserved, for by sitting on top of it upon the great stone which he had dragged from the seawall and carried a mile across the marsh for the purpose, he could view from Dover Cliffs to Dungeness, and in the other direction the long line of hills which bound the marsh inland, with old Limbin Castle frowning from the top. But Jerk wouldn't have changed his stronghold for any other, Limbin Castle included. It suited him admirably, for from it he studied the marsh and the creatures therein, the great brown water rat that came out in the evening to hunt in the rushes, the swift-winged dragonfly that could stand in mid-air stock still as it seemed, to look at you, the myriad mosquitoes with their fantastic air dance, hunting in tribes along the sluggish waters, the tadpole who looped about in the water below, and more especially the flap of the night-prowling bat, who hung all day head downwards from a decayed old tree trunk that was rotting on the opposite bank to Jerk's estate. Now, this same tree trunk had put ideas into young Jerk's head. Excuse me. It was obviously no good to anyone, and yet Jerk found himself regretting that it had not lived and died upon his land, for it was shaped uncommonly like a gallows tree, and if he could only erect a gallows tree upon the summit of Lookout Mountain, he would be more than ever living up to his reputable name of Hangman Jerk. He is really a nasty little kid. He half thought at one time of digging it up and replanting it on his own property. But when he caught hold of the branch one day and it had crumbled away in his hand, he considered that, although very nice and weird to behold, it wasn't much use as a genuine giblet, and a genuine giblet he then and therefore resolved to possess. Now the silver crowns of Dr. Sin would buy the most glorious scaffold, a regular professional affair, fit snug and firm in the ground, and capable of supporting the weight of a culprit. Mibbs was the first man to undertake the job, for he was a first-rate carpenter, and there was wood and to spare in the yard behind the coffin shop. Yes, if any man could supply him with a giblet, Mibbs could. And there he was, talking in the bar, ready to hand, and here were the silver crowns in Jerk's pocket. But to buy the giblet, and then to have to keep his mouth shut about the schoolmaster was no good. Mibbs would never do the job for 1 crown, but for 2, Jerk thought he might. Well, he would see about that, and if he was unsuccessful, he must find a way of raising the money. And then as soon as the apparatus was ready, he would get Rash condemned, and offer the authorities the loan of a brand new giblet. Oh, to watch the murderer swinging from the top of Lookout Mountain, right away on the lonely, windswept marsh. There is something really wrong with this kid. I mean, thoroughly wrong. He is kind of disturbed. Excuse me. Again. Where was I? Oh yeah. Yes, he must come to terms with the Undertaker at once. An Undertaker now with a vengeance. Rash's Undertaker. But the little gentleman in question was talking to Mrs. Waggetts, so Jerry had to wait in honor bound, for he was staunch to his benefactress, and would not have interrupted her for the world. The conversation going forward in the bar was carried on in earnest tones, but low. Jerk began to think that Mrs. Waggetts was at last drawing the sexton into a proposal of marriage, and his interest in this one-sided love affair made him crouch by the bar door in hopes of gathering up some scraps of the honeyed words. But the few disjointed phrases he did catch were more akin to anger than to love. Alsace, one bottle gone! Damn that captain's soul! Yes, there was passion, but no love. We know how to use the mist. They don't. It's safe enough. Lots of it tonight. No, there was no vestige of love in that. And presently the conversation was terminated with the most uncomplimentary remark from the sexton. You can lay your old top knot and throw it in your face. That'll be a good haul out tonight, and a good haul in here. Saying which, with a knowing slap at his pocket, he came hurriedly out of the bar door, and fell all asprawl over the crouching body of young Jerks. Why, in the name of all what rots, couldn't you tell me where you was? Cursed the sexton. 'Cause I prefer to tell you what I wants, replied Jerk. A thrashing? A gallows. Aye, that you do, if anyone did. Will you make it for me, then? Said the boy. What do you mean? What I says. Will you make me one? At a price. And that is? Depends on the size. What do you want a gallows for now? Where was I? Oh, yeah. That don't concern you, returned Jerk. You'll have all you can do making it, without asking questions. And you'll have all you can do when 'tis made a preventing me a stringing you up on it, if I has any more of your impertinence. But Jerry was in no way put out, and replied, If you don't want to build me a gallows, say so, and I'll soon find some other cove what does. Come, what's your price? And what's your game? My business, not your'n, said the boy. But you'll find as how your'n will improve by knowing your employers. Employers? And who might they be now? Said the sexton. Well, I'm trying to be one, said Jerk, jingling the coins about in his pocket. To lend weight to his words. What price for a gallows, eh? The jingle of coins also made the sexton think. What size? Said he. Big enough and strong enough to hang a man on, of course, and allowing for a good foot or two of timber in the earth. The sexton scratched his head. Oh, hello there, Zen. Welcome! We are reading Dr. Sin, and we are listening to a very disturbed young boy asked to have a gallows made for him. Have a seat. Enjoy yourself. The sexton scratched his head. Well, I'm cursed, said he. That's not to me, replied Jerry. Come on, your price. Well, say 2 crowns for making, and 1 for fixing. 1 for making and 1 for fixing, said Jerk, holding them out. No, said the sexton, eyeing the coins. Then hang the fixin', cried the boy, for I'll fix it myself. So it's 1 for making and the wood, ain't it, Mr. Sexton? No, it's 2 for making, and I lose on that. Very well, agreed Jerk, desperately handing over the money. And please, Mr. Sexton, make it now, 'cause I wants it quick. So the bargain was struck there and then, and off they both set to the coffin shop to carry it out. The gallows was made by nightfall, and set up upon Jerk's property, the sexton carrying it there himself, digging the hole and fixing it up. A regular professional affair, with a jangly, rusty chain swinging through the hook, and all this for the nominal price of 2 silver coins, only one of which belonged to the purchaser. Ah! As they viewed the completed erection from the other side of the dike. Oh my goodness, some of these words use. Ain't it few straight? Slap up, agreed the sexton. Quite strong, ain't it? Inquired the owner anxiously. To which the sexton replied imperiously, It were Mips as knocked it up, as you seed yourself. 1 second, my dear scholars. I have to deal with something. Because I don't think, unfortunately, my op is here tonight. Ah, can actually see what I'm doing. Yeah. What is that? Hold on. I swear I'm doing this right. Oh, wait. Okay, I think I got it. What? Oh, hello there, Goriki. It's it's so easy to stop that kind of bot entirely. Ugh. There we are. Okay. Oh, goodness. Ugh. Private Maverick. Hello there, Private Maverick. Oh, my goodness gracious. It takes forever to get some of these out of the way. Where were we? We were talking about this little kid who wants to aim people. Terrible kid. This child is terrible. Something about children of the corn. Go Ricky blocked terms and no one will ever see it in chat. Oh, I'll take a look at that. Thank you, Go. I hope I'm pronouncing this right. Go Riki. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Don't want to mess up people's names. Also, welcome. Thank you for being here. Excuse me. Oh my goodness, my coughing. It were Mips as knocked it up, as you'd see yourself. And when Mips knocks up, you can lay. It's solid what's knocked. And he turned and strode off towards the village, followed by Jerk. When they had gone about half a mile, Jerk looked back and called to the sexton to do the same. Darkness was already creeping over the marsh, but sharp and black against the skyline. No toy, but real, weird, and convincing, stood Jerk's giblet. What do you think of Lookout Mountain now? Sung out the boy. That you can better the name of it, Hangman Jerk. Why not call it Gallows Tree Hill? What? So I will, cried the singular youngster. It's a good name, and so I will, and let's hope as how the tree'll bear fruit. As how it won't, muttered the sexton. But it will, you can lay to that. For he could already picture the schoolmaster hanging there. As they neared the village with sudden fear, Jerk said to the sexton, I suppose the smugglers won't take my giblet as a personal offence and knock it down. But the weary Mibbs disarmed his fears with, There ain't no smugglers, for one thing. Sides, if there was, how could they knock down what's knocked up so solid? Well, dig it up, perhaps, suggested Jerk. Cause, Mr. Sexton, it do catch the eye somewhat, don't it? Look, you can see it even from here, and it don't look exactly pleasant, do it? Pleasant ain't exactly the word, I agrees. But you needn't worry yourself on that score. If them damned king's men had put it up now, I don't say as how it mightn't get mobbed and knocked about a bit, 'cause them damned king's men ain't what you might term popular favourites in the village. But as it weren't, don't you worry, for I'll soon pass the word, young Jerry, as how it's you what owns it. Thank you, said Jerry. They wouldn't knock it over if you asked them not to, I'll be bound.
Ask who not to? Demanded the sexton quickly.
Why, any of 'em, replied Jerk innocently. Marshmen, smugglers, jack-o'-lanterns, demon riders, what you will. For I'll lay they're all a scared of Sexton Mipps, ain't they?
But Sexton Mipps was not going to be caught by such dangerous flattery, and he replied, There ain't no such things as smugglers hereabouts, as I thinks I've already remarked. And as for demon riders, why, uncanny they be, and I holds no truck with them. Thank the Lord. Folks what has dealings with them has sold their souls for the bargain, and I ain't a going to do that.
Being such a very good and respectful Christian, oh no,
Said Jerk, winking. Why, certainly, answered the sexton, and I might ask what you're a winking about.
nothing, I was only a thinking.
What about?
A dream, a nightmare I had last night, that's all.
What about? Asked the sexton again.
That's particular.
Returned the boy casually. Oh, goodness gracious, this boy just can't keep his mouth shut. They had now reached the coffin shop, so thanking the sexton for his assistance, Jerk bade him good night. Where are you bound for now? Mr. Mipps called after him.
The vicarage.
What for?
To tell the vicar as how I've bought a crown off of him, that's all.
What's that? Cried the sexton, making as if to follow, but the boy waved him back with a fierce gesture.
Tain't nothing to do with you. You're paid, ain't you? And it didn't get stolen from the poll box either. So don't you start a worrying.
And thrusting his hands deep into his breeches pocket, Jerk set off for the vicarage to tell Dr. Sin. Although he couldn't accept the silver crown for holding his tongue, he had taken the liberty of borrowing it off him. And in this way was the gibbet set up on Lookout Mountain, and the name changed to Gallows Tree Hill. Yeah, this kid just cannot keep his mouth shut. And he really should know better. But then again, he is a kid. Private Maverick, if they had socks, they should stuff them into the kid's mouth. Well, they do have socks, and they should definitely stuff them into his mouth. Montreal, we got an angry character. We do. We do have an angry character. It just... This kid is definitely tempting fate. He just cannot. Although that is very realistic. I mean, who hasn't met, like, who are when they were not younger? I wouldn't know. I was never young. Who, when they were not younger, just like they would be given some big secret, and you just could not resist telling someone or wanting to tell someone. So instead, you just kind of stealthily hint at it heavily, so you can tell it without telling it. And that seems to be what the whole thing with Jerk is. He really, really, really wants to get at the schoolmaster, so he is just dying to tell someone. So he's just pushing the envelope as much as he can so that someone else just catches on, just so he can be the one to say, well, look at me, I'm the one who knows this secret, and look, I've got this giblet that you can use for this. He is tempting his fate so hard. Montreal, he's a grumpy Gus. Mibbs is. But he's got every right to be. I think we might be able to do one or two more chapters tonight. And then we can stop. Because it is a lot of reading. And I don't want to overtask text things. Chapter 16. The Schoolmaster's Suit. It was now dark, as Jerk passed through the cluster of quaint little houses that make up the one street of Dymchurch under the wall, and so on to the vicarage.
Just at the corner where the courthouse stands amidst the great trees, he heard singing, and recognized the voice and figure of Imogene. She was carrying a basket from the direction of the ship, and was direction. Yeah, she was carrying a basket from the direction of the ship. Was probably bound like himself for the vicarage. As she passed the courthouse, she paused, and to jerk's astonishment, felt among the ivy that grew around the old front door. There, in a certain branch, was a piece of paper which she took from its hiding place as if she had expected to find it. The message it contained she read by the light of the lantern that hung above the door, and then, thrusting it into the bosom of her rough dress, she went on towards the vicarage gate. But out from the shadows of the trees stepped a man, whom Jerk perceived to be the schoolmaster. Imogene hesitated when she saw him, for he was standing directly in her path. But when she tried to rush past, Rash stopped her and spoke. So, mistress, now, yeah, so, mistress, now that you have got your lover's written promise from the ivy there, you think you can afford to pass by such a humble one as the schoolmaster? But you're mistaken, and I'll trouble you to show me that letter. The girl's hand went involuntarily to her bosom, where the note was securely tucked away, and she answered right back clear and straight, "No, no, no, Mr. Rash, you've no right." "Right is might, mistress, as you'll find, and I think we shall be able to come into terms now. I want you to come along with me to the vicarage. Dr. Sin is there, and I've something to say before you both." "Let us go, then," said Imogen, trying to pass. "All in good time," returned the schoolmaster, stopping her. "There's no immediate hurry. I think, for the doctor won't come out of that shuttered room of his till morning, so we can afford to keep him waiting. And I've something to say to you first, alone." The girl tossed her head impatiently as if she knew what was coming, but Rash continued. "A few weeks back I asked you to marry me. I, the esteemed schoolmaster, asked you, the daughter of a criminal. You whose father was a proved murderer, a dirty pirate, hanged publicly at Rye for a filthy tavern crime. You who were born in a Rarotonga drinking hell, some native girl's brat. Ecod, it's laughable. I offered to make you respectable and put your banes up in the church, and you refused. Now I know why. You think because that young fool Cobtree is pleased to admire you that you will catch him in your toils, do you? You're a clever one, ain't you? I dare swear that sooner or later you'd succeed in getting hold of him. Yet to let an idiot ruin you, eh? Then make a virtuous song about it to the squire, and a settlement to keep your mouth shut, perhaps." "Beast!" cried the girl, and she struck him sideways across the mouth with her clenched hand. "Hello!" thought Jerk, crouching in the bushes. "Here's another one having a go at him. Well, the more the merrier, as long as I'm the last." This kid Jerk really irritates me. The schoolmaster recoiled, trying to look as if the stinging blow had not hurt, but the blood was flowing from his lip and from the hand of the girl as well. "So, that's it, is it?" he sniggered. "A real love match, perhaps. The squire's consent, the wedding bells, and live happily ever after, eh? Ecod, my lady, I think not. Rash is your man, see? And lucky you are to get him, you whose father giblet chains are still swinging in Rye." "And yours are swinging a bit nearer than that," said Jerry Jerk to himself. "You leave my father out of it," went on the girl, "for from all I've heard of him, he was a better man than you. He was fond of me too, so it's lucky for you he's not here to hear you speaking bad of his child. You know nothing about him. He was a drunken rascal." Dr. Sin knew him well, and he's told me things. A rough man he was certain, and none rougher, reckless too and brave, a lawbreaker on land as well as sea, pitiless to his enemies, staunch to his friends. But cur he never was, and so, Mr. Rash, you can afford to respect him. And I say again that I wish he were here to make you. Shouldn't care if he was, replied the schoolmaster, for there's always the law to look after a man. So there is, chuckled Jerk, and you'll find. Oh, shut up, kid. Bah! What's the good of haggling and squabbling? Said Mr. Rash. You're mine, or you'll have to bear the consequences. And that is? And that is? Asked the girl defiantly. The rope for your friends when I turn King's evidence. You wouldn't dare, you coward, for you'd be hanged yourself as well. King's evidence will cover me all square. So you're determined to turn it, are you? I am, unless you change your mind. The girl didn't reply to that. So Mr. Rash, thinking that he was making an advance, continued. Think, Imogen, this Coventry fellow will be packed off to London in a month or so, and from there on to Oxford, and after a college career of drinking, gambling, and loose living, with precious little learning, he'll settle down to the gentleman's life, marry some lady of quality, and you, eh? What of you then? I earn my living now, don't I? Replied the girl. What's to prevent me going on the same? Don't you want to marry? Went on the schoolmaster's suit. Don't you want a house of your own? Don't you want to be the envy of all the girls in the village? Not at the price of my happiness. And besides, I'm not so sure that I do want all those things so desperate. I'm afraid the wife of Mr. Rash would be too genteel a job for me. Oh, I'd soon educate you up to that, returned the schoolmaster graciously. It'd be a great nuisance to both of us, wouldn't it? I shouldn't mind. It'd be a pleasant business making a respectable woman of you, Imogen. You see, you're not common like these village girls, and that's what attracts me. Otherwise, it might have been better for me to have fixed my choice on one of them, one that hadn't a bad mark against her, so to speak. But I don't mind what folk say. I suppose they'll talk a bit and laugh behind my back. Well, let 'em, I say I. I don't care, because I want you. Then it's a pity that I'm not the same way of thinking. What do you mean? That I wouldn't marry you. No, not though you got the whole village the rope. You ungrateful wretch! Not after all they've done for you! You're not the sort of party to talk to others about being ungrateful, are you now? I wasn't born of jail folk. No, and you can hope your children, if you're ever cursed with any, will be able to say the same, for I doubt it very greatly, Mr. Schoolmaster. And as to your threats, I set no store on them, for from my heart I despise you. I despise you because you are willing to betray your fellows, but I despise you more because I know you are too great a coward to do it. We shall see, said the schoolmaster, for who's to stop me? Parsons sin, answered the girl. Parsons can bear all manner of secrets and not betray them. That's their business. And Dr. Sin's a good man, so I'll tell him everything. That will show you how little you know about things, Mistress Ignoramus. For it's that very same good man, Dr. Sin, who is going to read out your bans on this next Sabbath, as ever is, and is Rash, who is going to make him, And if you won't come along with me to church, well, I'll threaten other parties in this little place who'll help me to make you. Folks are none too anxious to be exposed these days with king's men in the village. And so, you'll see. The schoolmaster stopped talking suddenly. Should we stop here, my dear scholars, or should we do one more chapter? I can feel my energy and my voice starting to wane a little bit. I mean, I can attempt one more, but I am starting to feel my energy go a little bit. Okay, let me get a drink of water, and we will do this last chapter for the night. It's only one, two. It's only 5 pages long. I don't even know how many chapters we read tonight. I think we read 7. Chapter 17. The Doctor Sings a Song. Now, although Jerry had employed all his faculties for the overhearing of this conversation, he had unconsciously listened to something else. A slight noise that now and again came from the direction of the vicarage. A small whirring noise, the kind of noise that he had heard in Mip's coffin shop when a saw was working its way through a piece of wood. Yes, a whirring noise, with an occasional squeak to it. He hadn't bothered to ask himself what it was. He had just gone on hearing it. But now another noise arose in the night that not only claimed his immediate attention, but made him feel cold all over. It had the same effect upon Mr. Rash, for he stopped talking suddenly and gripped the post of the gate with one hand, and with the other pulled Imogene roughly into the denser black of the bushes. Then the noise grew louder and louder. What at first could only be described as a gibbering moan rose into shriek after shriek of mortal terror. It was a man's voice, a man scared out of all knowledge. And then over the gate leaped a dark form, agile and quick, that went bounding away through the ghostly churchyard. There was something familiar in that figure of the jerk. He had seen it almost from the same spot the night before. It was that man. The schoolmaster came out from the bushes, followed by Imogene. Quickly they went through the gate and towards the vicarage, and silently Jerk followed, with his heart thumping loud against his ribs. For although only the echoes of those drum-cracking shrieks vibrated in his ears, the gibbering moans still continued. To the back of the house went the girl and the schoolmaster, and to the front went Jerk. It was all dark. Indeed, no lights were showing from any of the rooms but one, and that was the doctor's sitting room, with the shutters still closed fastened. But a jagged little hole in the corner of one of the shutters sent a shaft of yellow candlelight straight out into the blackness. Yes, the moaning, the gibbering moaning, was coming from the doctor's room. Jerk crossed a bed of flowers and a gravel pit and applied his eyes to the jagged hole in the shutter. This little hole accounted for the whirring and squeaking that he had just heard, for it was newly cut, and Jerk put his hand upon several little pieces of split wood that had fallen upon the outer sill. It was plain then that the awful apparition he had just seen had been looking into the room. He had evidently made the hole for the purpose, and made it with that awful weapon he carried, that same harpoon over which there had been so much talk at the courthouse inquiry. Now the shutter, being an outside shutter, backed right against the lead-rimmed glass casement, and thus it was that he had to wait for a few seconds before seeing plainly anything in the room, for the candlelight flickered and danced upon the glass. Excuse me. The very second he had put his eyes to the hole, The moans within the room steadily rose, and Jerk's thumping heart increased its already unnatural pace, for he expected the loud shrieks to follow. But soon his eye got accustomed to the light, and one thing became visible: the form of Dr. Sin. He was sitting in a high-backed chair in the center of the room, gripping the oaken arms with his long white fingers. And upon his face was a look of indescribable horror. His neck was stretched up alert and straight, his eyes dilated, glazed, and terrible, his hair unkempt, and his thin legs pressed hard against the floor. But his mouth was neither set nor rigid. Like the rest of his members, his mouth was loose and hanging open, like the mouth of a madman, and from it was coming that inarticulate gibber, that gibbering moan that arrested the hearing of Jerry Jerk. Straight at the shutter stared the demented doctor, straight into Jerk's eye at the jagged hole. Suddenly his hand shot out over the table. He picked up a great plated candelabra and hurled it, lighted candles and all, full at the window. Done. More water. Jerk started back at the rattle of glass, and at the same time a heavy hand fell upon his shoulder. Another was passed over his mouth, while a familiar voice whispered in his ear, "For God's sake, be quiet." It was the captain, and he stood holding the boy tightly, keeping his eye on the jagged hole with something approaching terror upon his strong face. It was dark now, of course, for there was no light in the house. But presently Jerk and the captain heard low, frightened voices, and a light shone suddenly through the hole. The captain stooped and put his eye to it. Yes, the door of the doctor's sitting room was opening, and Imogene and the schoolmaster entered. Imogene came first with a lighted candle held high above her head. The doctor was now kneeling on the floor. He had a black bottle in his hand, the same rum bottle from which he had treated Jerk that very day. He seemed to recognize Imogene, for he smiled as she entered, smiled as he slowly raised the bottle and tilted the contents neat and raw down his throat. Then he saw the schoolmaster. His upper lip twitched, curled, and rose, disclosing his white upper teeth. His underlip stretched down and showed his lower teeth, shining white teeth that shone and glistened underneath the bottle's neck. There was a snap and a quick crunching sound. The captain gasped for breath, for Dr. Sin had bitten through the glass neck and seized the bottle by the broken end. Slowly he dragged one leg from its kneeling position and pushed it out before him with the blood still trickling from his cut lip. And motionless stood the wild girl, Imogene, with the candle held above her head. Sin was about to spring. Rash was waiting to be seized, and nothing moved in the room save the slow oozing blood on the parson's lip. Nothing else moved at all, except perhaps the light itself, shed by the flickering candle which cast shadows of the two men upon the whitewashed wall. Then, with a hissing sound, Sin leapt, swinging the bottle as he came, and brought it down with a sickening crash at the white face before him. Over went Rash, senseless, blinded with blood in the shivered glass. Then Sin laughing, saying at the top of his voice, I gotta drink another water because there's more singing here, my dear scholars. Here's to the. Now I gotta get the voice again. Yeah. Here's to the feet what have walked the plank. Yo ho for the dead man's throttle, and here's to the corpses afloat in the tank, and the dead man's teeth in the bottle. And as he sang, he danced and stamped the senseless face beneath his feet. Then he sang again, roaring new words to the eternal old tune.
a pound of gunshot tied to his feet, and a ragged bit of sail for a winding sheet. Then out to the sharks with a horrible splash. And that's the end of Mr. Rash. And with diabolical glee, he leapt again with both feet upon his victim's face. Oh my goodness. What? Oh gosh. All this time the girl stood still like a statue with the candle high above her head, and the terrible parson went on with the song. And all that isn't ripped by the sharks outside stands up on its feet upon the running tide. Taking the prostrate body, he lifted it onto its feet and leered into its face, then letting it go, watched it fall and collapse into a heap. And it kept bowling gently and looking with surprise at the little crabs a scrabbling from the sockets of its eyes. No, oh my goodness. The captain then shouted at the top of his voice, and tore at the fast firm shutter. The song ceased in the room. The light once more went out of the jagged hole, and there was a noise of a falling body. Probably the girl had fainted. The shutters were strong and wouldn't give. "The back door!" shrieked the terrified Jerry. "The back door's open!" And round to the back rushed the captain, followed by the boy. And as he ran, he blew 3 shrill calls upon a silver whistle that he carried on a chain. The whistle was answered by another. And before the captain had found and opened the back door, the captain's boatswain had appeared from the bushes, followed by a strong party of the king's men. The boatswain made a light from his tinder box, and as they were looking for a candle in the back kitchen, they could hear someone moving about in the sitting room. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. That is. Wow, that is dark. That is a horrifying scene. I would almost count this novel as partially horror the with how ghastly and grisly the deaths are in this. I'll give Thorndike this. He manages to make the deaths incredibly violent without actually describing the deaths in too vivid detail. That is a real talent to do, because it doesn't take much to realize just what Sin has done and what he's doing to his victim, and just how horrifying it would be. I mean, if it is Julie 20, which is more impressive? Yes, it is impressive. It's absolutely terrifying. All right, we'll end up there for now, my dear scholars. So next week, uh, next Monday, if everything goes according to plan, we'll be playing more of The Last Campfire. And then next Thursday, we'll be reading more of Dr. Sin, and we'll see how Sin gets out of this one. I'm not even sure how he's going to manage, since there are witnesses. All right, let's see who we can raid tonight. I got it. Where's my Twitch? I have to check who's on. Okay, let's see. Do we want to attempt to raid a gaming stream or a reading stream, my dear scholars? Okay, reading. Let's see if there's anyone in writing and reading right now.
other than us. Um, there aren't a lot of people. Kinshona, I mean, it's up to you, really. Yeah, some more reading. There's not. I'm not really seeing a lot. Well, I see Michael Psycho is streaming and writing reading. Let's go visit them. I'm not actually sure what they're reading. Well, we'll find out, shan't we? So then, my dear scholars, I say unto you, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, till we meet each other again at the study. Take care, and I shall see you next time. Till then, farewell and bye bye.